My daughter Megan was born a Spitfire. She kept us on our toes. We didn't know what to do with her. She was always on the go. This girl had us either laughing or crying. Admittedly, she was thrown out of a daycare. Yes, she was. When she got into school, the teachers loved her. They really did. But they didn't know what to do with her. She was like on the go all the time. Who gets a 2-page note from a bus driver sent home? That would be my daughter. Yep. I don't even know what to say about that. But yes, Megan came home with a 2-page note from a bus driver because she was bothering her bus partner. So this was the kind of girl she was. She was just never in her seat, always in the disciplinarian's office, didn't know what to do with her, to the point where at second grade, the teachers were like, Kinser, can we please do some testing on her? And maybe she has ADD, ADHD or whatever. And I'm like, please, yeah, help me out, please. So they did some testing and nothing really showed anything. And me being me, I was like, all right, let me see what I can find out here. And I did find that there was a clinic in one of our local colleges that did educational testing on children. And I said, here's the thing. I said, you guys, I found a testing site for her, but you're going to have to pay for it. And I'm not paying for it. So if you're willing to pay for this, they'll diagnose her learning disability or whatever's going on. So they were like, okay, we'll do this. So I sent her to this clinic, and 2 weeks later, she was diagnosed with a language-based learning disability. And I was like, finally, thank you, God. Let's go, let's move. So, after this being said, we thought everything was good, and this girl still had problems, and I thought, oh, dear God, what on earth is going on? And I was talking to my own counselor one night, and he said, Kinser, I work with this educational consultant. You think you want to, maybe have him test her? He's an educational consultant. He can do some work with her, this type of thing. And I'm like, yeah, all right, Simon, let's see what he can do. I'm game. So sure enough, I put her through some more testing, and I went to meet with him to go over the results. And I will never forget the final words that he said to me. And he said, Kinser, you may want to look into juvenile Huntington's disease because some of her actions are indicative that she could be carrying the gene for juvenile Huntington's disease. And I thought, oh my dear God, what? Now, my husband had been diagnosed a few years prior, and that was a throat punch. But juvenile Huntington's disease, I really, honest to God, didn't even know there was such a thing. And I was like, oh my God. Really? And he's like, you might want to look into it. And I thought, oh my God, okay. And I cried all the way home. I don't even know how I made it home that day. I think I made a phone call to my girlfriend. I'm like, what on earth? What do I do? Oh my God, I don't even know what to do. So me being me, I started looking into resources, and I found a neurologist in Boston, and I made an appointment, and I brought her down there, and sure enough, without even doing a blood draw, she was clinically diagnosed with juvenile Huntington's disease. And I thought, dear God, what do I do now? And I thought, here we go again. Now, by now, my husband had been in, I had to put him in an assisted living facility. I was a single parent. I had another daughter. Now I've got this one coming down the ropes, and I'm like, oh my God, what do I do? So She's now diagnosed. We're meeting with a neurologist in Boston, and we're just following what we need to do. And then we're doing everything we need to do. Fast forward 5 years, and I'm in the family room with her, and she's rolling around on the floor going, Mommy, Mommy, please make it stop. Oh my God, I'm in so much pain. Mommy, please make it stop. I can't, my legs are itching so badly. I can't, Mommy, I can't. Please make it stop. And I'm like, oh my God, Megan, I don't know what else to do for you. I gotta bring you to the hospital. So I scooped her up, I put her in the car, we went down to the hospital, and we went into the ER, and I was like, I need help. I'm at the end of my rope. I don't know what to do with this girl. She's complaining, she's itching to death. I don't know how to help her. And they looked at me and they kind of one-offed me, and they were like, she's got skin ulcers. You'll have to wait for the wound clinic tomorrow. And I looked at him and I went, it's more about skin ulcers. I go, this girl hasn't slept. Neither she or I have slept for 2 days. I go, there's more than this, than skin ulcers. I said, I'm sorry, there's more than that. And they're like, well, we don't, all right, let's take a look. We don't know what's going on. And the more I got anxious, the more Megan became rambunctious. So finally, the nurse had to give her Ativan. And I said, please, I go, admit her. I go, I don't know what to do with her. I go, she's not sleeping. She's not eating. I said, I don't know what to do with her. She's not safe at home. So they did finally admit her, and she was there in the hospital for a few days, and they finally said, Kinser, you need to take her home. We can give you some sleeping medication. And I said, it's not about sleep. I said, this girl has juvenile Huntington's disease. You don't understand. And I said, please call her neurologist in Boston. I said, I can't take her home. It's not safe. I go, she's not safe at home. And they said, well, we'll do what we can. And a couple of days went by, and they said to me, we're going to try to find a facility for her. And I said, I will try too. And we all were looking for a facility, but with a 15-year-old girl who was presenting symptoms of juvenile Huntington's disease, tell me how easy it is to find a facility. There aren't any. Finally, the social worker from the hospital calls me and says, oh my God, we found some place for her. It's in Boston. You're so lucky. They said they would evaluate her. They're going to come out and see her. And I said, no. She said, what do you mean, no? I said, no. I said, no. I said, we're out in Western Mass. I go, this is not happening. I said, Boston is an hour and a half away. I go, I see this girl every day. I go, she will die. I said, I come home from work. I get her service dog. I go down to the hospital. I'm with her until she goes to bed. I go, Dixie, her service dog, first thing she looks for in the morning, last thing she kisses before she goes to bed at night, not going to Boston, sorry, Well, that's all they needed to hear, because then the threats began. Kinser, you need to take her home. We can't do anything more for her. I said, well, I can't take her home. She's not going to be safe. Kinser, you're either going to come take her, or we're going to have no other choice than to call the Department of Children and Family Services, file a case for neglect against you. Really? I said, really? Okay, you go right ahead. I go, you go ahead and file that case, because you know what? I'm not taking her home. Sure enough, the next day I go to work, sitting there at my desk doing my work, and I get a phone call. Kinser, this is so-and-so from the Department of Children and Family Services. We understand you aren't taking your daughter home from the hospital. We need to come out and do an investigation, blah, 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 blah. And I said, sure, come on out. You come on out and do an investigation. So we set up a time. met the social worker at my house. And I said, first of all, let me just preface this. I said, I did your job 20 years ago. I know how this all goes down. I said, you go ahead, you ask your questions. And I'm going to tell you, I'm at the end of my rope. I don't know what else to do. I have no idea what to do to help my daughter. She is in pain. She isn't sleeping. Hospital has now said they can't help anymore. What am I supposed to do? And she said, well, we're going to try to help. I then find myself in a boardroom at the hospital. I've got all the doctors, the hospital ethicists, the lawyers for the hospital on one side. I've got every social agency that I've been working with, all the department, state agencies I've been working with on one side. I've got my healthcare advocate. I've got my friends on one side, and then I've got the deputy director of Mass Health commanding this meeting, going, Kinser, you are now going to get whatever you need for your daughter. We have never seen such a fierce advocate as yourself for anybody ever, any child, anybody ever. So we're going to give you 24-hour care for Megan. We just are amazed at what you've done. And I thought, oh my dear God, I've finally done it. After all these months, I have gotten what I've come here for. I've fought for what I've wanted and finally gotten it. And they asked if they could give me a hug. They asked if they could go meet Megan. We did all of that, and I went home, and I was like on cloud 9. Went to bed that night, and about 11:30, probably 11:30, I got a phone call, phone's ringing. Mrs. Cancelmo, we need you down to the hospital immediately. Your daughter went into cardiac arrest. And I went, wait, what? Wait, this is, what's happening? This is not happening. Mrs. Cancelmo, come down to the hospital immediately. Your daughter went into cardiac arrest. And I thought, oh my God. Somehow I made it down there, and I went down to the PICU, and I saw her hooked up to all these tubes and wires and everything. And I thought, oh my God, my baby. And 5 days later, this girl gained her angel wings. And with that being said, this girl may not have made it home, but I will tell you one thing. She made me realize that you fight for your child, you do anything you need to do for your child, and you remember that you know more than any doctor out there, you know more than any social worker out there, you know more than anybody else does about your child, and you don't ever forget that.